Hello, everyone, and welcome to my podcast where we talk flowers, floral arranging, gardening, and more. I'm Tiffany Rutkowski, and my husband and I are the owners of Creative Designs by Tiffany, a floral and gift shop located in Dowsville, New York. To find out more and stay up to date, visit our website at cdbytiffany.wordpress.com and connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm passionate about all things flowers, mainly beautiful and flowers, and teaching you how to savor the things of it. You'll hear tips and tricks and from some of my highly esteemed friends in the business. Today, I'm joined by Dave Warner, producer of Tiffany Talk.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How's it going for you?
Finally, the weather's turned for us. And does that mean more planting or what does that mean?
Yes, it means more flowers, more beauty, everything. So,
okay, so you're going to be full of it today.
Yes,
right?
very full of it today. So, and ice cream today too.
Ooh,
so,
all right.
And today I'm joined by a very special guest, Lisa Dean from Floral Root.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. So I'm very excited.
I am extremely excited to have Lisa on because we talked about having different people on. Oh, we're recording today from my little fall studio. Shout out there to that. I forgot about that part.
That's all right. We'll get that part in there.
We jump right into it now. So I'm so excited, as you can see. So Lisa is what we call a local grower. So this is stuff that I don't get from overseas or from Ecuador. This is coming from locally in Canajoharie area,
Yes,
right? So,
Canajoharie.
and she is a local grower, and I'm going to have her talk a little bit about her business today and how it kind of affects to me. She's what I would consider a wholesale local grower. So,
Yes. Yep. So me and my husband own Floral Root. We are just outside the town of Canajoharie, in between Canajoharie and Sharon Springs. Let's see, we've been doing this for 5 years now. I think we're in our 5th year. Sometimes I start to lose track and I have to think back on everything. But so 3 years ago, we decided to make the switch from wholesale or retail to wholesale. So basically, we felt that our location was not suitable for retail. So we decided let's focus more on sales to florists. And that is our wholesale outlet. So we grow on a range of different types of cut flowers that are seasonally suitable for, our area. And that's our main focus.
awesome. So basically, right now, so we're in the middle of May for Mother's Day. Lisa was my supplier for tulips. So I had tulips that I got from the distributor, not as beautiful and lush and weren't. I guess I didn't bring any with me, so you can't see them. But the ones that she has, they're obviously a lot bigger, better, beautiful, and they're local. So they don't get squished into a box, shipped to me. They're here the next day or the day that she does cut them.
Yes.
So that's a benefit of having it local and wholesale too. So I'll have you talk a little bit about how you started from the retail aspect and what made you go into doing wholesale. So beyond the location,
Right.
is it basically the same type of, are you making the same kind of money or is it just something that you love to do or how does it work for you?
I think a big thing is I've worked in the horticulture business since I was 16. So I've had my fingers in it from day one. My first job, I worked in a florist/greenhouse. So that's where I kind of got my experience. And that job, actually, they used to grow chrysanthemums for fall crops for Christmas. And so kind of got the taste of growing cut flowers. So it was always fun and exciting, something new to learn. And as the years went on, I decided to go to college for horticulture. Thought I would stay more in the greenhouse business. Worked in numerous different types of greenhouses on numerous different farms. And then eventually my husband and I, we moved back up here 2008, I think is when we moved back up here. I worked a few, different jobs in other greenhouses, but I said, you know what? I really love to grow. I like the behind the scenes, the growing aspects of stuff. We own 14 acres. Why not try to make some money off the land that we own? So that's kind of where we started. Retail's kind of, I think, everybody's go-to at first. Canajoharie, sometimes it was hard. I think we're just that far out of town. I had a really hard time getting people to come to me. And, everyone, I'm coming. No one shows. It was just one of those things. I think even though this is kind of the country area, people they would still want it at their fingertips. A 7-10 minute drive out of town, it's too far.
Yeah, that's like a New York thing or something. I mean, it's like, oh my God, 10 minutes. Oh, no.
No. I mean, there's no ice cream on the way.
Right. Exactly. There's no,
Okay.
there's no
So
drag
you
out
should have
there.
done ice cream
Right.
and flowers.
Right.
Okay. All right. Got it.
So, we just, and my husband kept kind of saying to me a lot, he goes, I really think a good thing is if we can grow a mass quantity of something and just unload it at once. So we kind of started making the switch to let's focus on, working with the local florists. And that's how it all began.
Which is awesome. So when I first started the business or took over for the former business owner in Dallasville, Lisa had come up and had fresh local blooms. I think it was 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it was my first experience with it. She reached out to me because I had no idea where I was getting flowers from except for the distributor. So it made it a lot more choices. And then when I saw how fresh the blooms were and then how they're grown as compared to flown, as they say,
Yes.
it is a lot better. A lot. And you'll see it in the arrangements. You'll see it on any of the stuff that you have. I was going to ask you at the beginning, and I completely forgot to ask you this. So I wanted to know what your best advice that you've ever been given in terms of running your business and anything that you'd like to pass on today.
I thought about this a little bit, and I don't know if there's been something I've ever been given or said to, follow these rules. But I actually spent the weekend with an old college friend, and I watched her build her own business. And I think just having a close friend who has gone through it before and the risks she's taken and the investment she's made, it kind of almost gives you the courage, like, okay, I can do this too.
Yes.
It's one of those things. So
That's awesome. Yes. And that's where I'm seeing with you that your drive, because like you said, you're not in retail. So it's a lot tougher. And, I grew up, my dad was a farmer. There's not a lot of money in the farming industry. It's not respected as much as I think it should be, and the value of it. So I think it's really awesome how you're taking it on that way and wholesaling it to all the local florists. Are there a lot of local florists that you service right now? Or it's a pretty far stretch from Canajoharie to Dollarville, if you notice where Canajoharie and Dollarville is in New York. Yes.
Yeah. And, I guess I didn't even realize, except from talking to you, last week or the week before, just how big of a gap there is between all the florists and all the towns. I guess in Canajoharie, you have to drive everywhere to get somewhere. So driving has never been an issue for me. But then when I started to put the pieces together, it's quite a big loop. So, I just try to hit up everybody I can locally. Sometimes when I have too much of a stuff that I can't unload to the local florist, I will actually go to the wholesale distributor in Albany, and I can sell it to them, and then they can distribute it out to their florists. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yes, that's good to know. So, I was going to ask you now, obviously the faux pas thing of the pandemic, has anything changed for you in the past year, how you would grow and sell from last year to this year even?
Not much. I think the biggest thing is we said, let's go for it and expand.
Yep.
So we've actually are adding more this year. We've definitely figured out a few things that really work for us and certain things that we really want to try to make work for us. So we're investing into them this year. But last year, I think at the beginning of the pandemic, like most people, I was a nervous wreck. I had no idea what to expect. And I ended up doing the same as I did the year before. So I said, I'm happy with that.
That's great. That is very good. That was one of the things that in the other markets, and even now we're feeling it from the people overseas, that you can't get stuff anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, what you planted, what's coming up. And unless there's a huge Mother Nature episode, we pretty much have it on schedule and we know when it's coming in. So I lean even more into that this week. I have a funeral, so I text you about it, and you kind of knew what you were expecting for this week. So I didn't order as many that I would have from overseas, and it works out because they're bigger, brighter, beautiful blooms that I'm going to be able to use and utilize. And I don't have to worry about it not coming in on the plane from overseas. So it's definitely a benefit in that way. So what are some of the things that you grow, like the annuals to perennials? I think I asked you this too in the store, and I said we had talked about at the last podcast the difference between heirloom seeds and regular seeds. So I guess the first question I'll ask you is, what's the difference between heirloom seeds and regular seeds?
Heirloom, they kind of say it's more open pollinated, kind of varieties that have been around for a while and that type of thing. Kind of in the cut flower industry, you never really talk about heirloom as
Mhm.
much as you do in the vegetable industry. So that's something a little bit different. We're not, focused on that type of thing.
Right.
Not that there is perennials that have been around forever
Mhm.
and you're still using the same varieties, but it's definitely different.
Okay. That's very cool. So,
Yeah.
and then what else do you grow then throughout the season? And how do you pick your seeds? Like, what are your best seeds, or how do you know that this is going to work for you or not going to work for you?
A lot of it's trial and error. This year we really focused on everything that does good for us. What can we do and what can we do well? And let's
Mhm.
do a lot of that. So
Yes.
that's kind of been our main focus. We started off with 2 seasons, which is kind of interesting for us because around here, everybody wants tulips for Mother's Day. We're on a hill, we're high up, the wind hits us, the weather is never on our side. So I can never guarantee that I have as many tulips as I want to have for Mother's Day.
All the beauties of upstate
It
New York.
is. It is. But, we've had a lot of fun growing stock. That's going to actually hopefully be next week. I'll be able to start offering a few bunches. They're starting to bud and flower. And we have really good luck with it. So we experimented with a lot of different ways for it this year. And then after that, we have snapdragons. We don't do a lot of perennials. That's one thing we don't offer a lot of.
Which, Dave, what's a perennial?
I didn't know I was going to be
no.
tested.
No.
It's the opposite of what you think it is.
Yes, that's the way you can think of it.
Yes.
So,
My mind was drifting into
Yes.
a kind of a technical thing here. I was like,
But the perennial we talked about
Yeah.
last time too, the annuals versus perennials, and how everybody thinks the annuals are the ones that are going to come back every year, and then when it doesn't come
annually,
back,
they're going to come back.
Right.
No.
So
That's not it.
yes, so and that's the amateur florist / grower
Oh,
thing
God.
that some people still don't quite realize.
that,
So
that was me.
yeah, that was so but so then you do the dahlias in the well, not really the fall, it'd be the end of the summer more.
Right. Yep.
And-
You're planting them about this time but you don't start harvesting until about hopefully mid-August, late
Okay.
August and well into the fall. So
And patience is a huge factor because that's something too.
yes.
Last year we had so much time on our hands, and I said, well, maybe I'll start trying to grow a few little flowers in the garden. They are nice flowers in the garden. They're great little cut things for a mason jar and maybe your kitchen, but to have the stamina to wait for them and to be able to cultivate them the way that you need to, it's a whole different ball game. It's like saying I want to be a farmer and then I get a cow and I have to milk the cow. It's not the same as being a farmer and having 100 head that you have to milk. So it's a huge business that I just don't have the patience for, I guess is the best way I could say it. So that's why it's so important. You have local flower growers that do. So how long on average do you spend a day just watering, seeding, making sure they're weeded, taking care of your blooms?
Oh gosh, and it's kind of nice. My husband, he loves to weed. He does most.
Wow.
I know.
Something wrong with that boy.
But I think it's kind of he owns his own business, so I think the weeding part of it. It's a little bit of the mindless work.
Mhm.
You can just go out and do it.
Yep.
It's relaxing. I don't know. He enjoys it, and you know what?
You guys are
I
hurting
let
my back
him
just
do
talking about it.
I let him do it.
Yes.
So, he does a little bit every day. He's always putzing around.
Yep.
So, but like I said, I think it's just something that's relaxing for him. Watering, I don't have a huge greenhouse. Our greenhouse is only like 20 by 48. So I can water it quickly,
Mhm.
but
Sounds like a warehouse
Yeah.
instead of a greenhouse.
Right.
It's only 20 by 48.
When you think
Yes.
of how small a stem is, 2 times however many you
Right.
have in there, there's
Oh
a
my
ton
God,
packed in
that's
there,
a
right?
lot.
Yes.
there's a lot in there. But I've worked on so many farms where their greenhouses, they're 30 feet by 100 feet. So this is tiny
Oh
from what
my
I'm used
goodness.
to. Yes.
How big is this room, Dave? Maybe.
I don't know, 10 by 20.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're looking at a few times bigger than
Yeah.
this. That's
Yes.
yes, that is a lot to maintain.
So, usually watering a greenhouse, I can whip right through it.
Mhm.
So I don't feel like I spend a lot of time. But then, once we're going into planting season.
Mhm.
And the biggest thing with planting season, once you planted it, your roots aren't established into the soil. So you
Yeah.
have to kind of keep it constantly moist to
Right.
get those roots to establish. So in the next coming weeks, we'll be doing a lot of irrigation.
Yes. And that's something too with planting that a lot of people don't realize, that once you stick that plant into the ground, those roots have to establish. And so like you were saying too, you have to keep them watered and keep them going. You can't just stick them in the ground and hope that it starts raining. Sometimes that does happen, but you get really lucky.
Yes.
But for the most part, there's some maintenance to it at the beginning before those roots get established. So what's one of the favorite things that you've done in the course of planting? Like what was the best thing that happened over a season for you? Like you sold out, or you had to do a wedding flower, or you had to, I don't know, give me an idea. So
I think just seeing the whole process work, I've tried so many different varieties I've never tried when I worked in a greenhouse setting, which is, totally different. So that's been a fun new experience. It's just, okay, I'm growing a snapdragon, but I'm used to these snapdragons only getting about 24 inches. Last year, I grew some snapdragons. One stem was 3 feet long. It was just, one of those things like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
Yes, that's great.
Like I didn't know it was
let
going to
me
get
watch
that
the
big.
paint dry as it gets to 3 feet.
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of neat things. We have really good luck with eucalyptus. And one of those things too, like most people say, I didn't know it would grow so well in this area. So it really does. So that's kind of, fun to say, hey, we grow a lot of eucalyptus. And people are like, what?
That's really neat. And that eucalyptus is my favorite to
and
use.
others are, what is it?
Yep.
Yes. So what is eucalyptus? I'm guessing Dave doesn't quite know what it is.
Is that a balm you put under your arm, or put a little eucalyptus under there and it's good now?
I think a lot of people consider it more in the herb category. Right. For florists, we consider a foliage category. So, eucalyptus is used so much in wedding and everyday work, just as a different type of foliage because it has that beautiful silver leaf. But then in the herb world, you make essential oils out of it. I know some of my florist friends, they have people come in weekly just to buy stems of it. A lot of people love to hang it in their shower because then the oil's released. It helps with respiratory issues. Allergies are going on right now.
So you thought I was just making that up as a deodorant or whatever.
No, it is.
So it is. Yeah. So, it's just, something different and fun to have around. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So here's a question for you. So what are some of the aspects that someone walking into your business would have no clue of that you wish you could tell them? So say a new grower or someone like me who's thinking, maybe I could grow something. What's something you could tell us that we'd never know?
Sometimes.
Again, don't do it.
I think patience is the biggest thing.
I'm out.
Yep. My husband doesn't have a lot of patience sometimes for it.
He picks weeds for a living. I mean, seriously?
He does.
I mean, that's like the quintessential patience. Oh, there you are, little buddy. Let me get you out.
But, sometimes I tell my husband, I always tell him, stop staring at them so much. You make the flowers nervous. Sometimes I'll sit on it every day, which is good. You want to scout around, look at things every day. But I'm like, I think you're staring too long. You're hurting them. Just keep going. But I think it's a big patience and it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It really is. You may not think it is, but depending on what you have for tools at your expense, we don't have a tractor, so we do a lot of hand stuff and it's a lot of hard work, but hopefully we'll build up to a tractor one day. It's one of those things, step by step, we'll get there.
Which is awesome because you think about that in terms of a small business, like starting from scratch and waiting until, you could go out and buy a $200,000 tractor to do this. But in the time that'll take you to make back that $200,000, it'll be a long, long process. Right. And a lot of people don't realize that. So that hard work and grunt work that you have to put in and hand tilling and in the beginning, yes, I'm sure that's something.
See, I'd be thinking a little four-wheeler, $6,000 tractor. You go right to 200,000, Tiffany.
Well, I'm thinking farming. That's why I'm thinking the farming.
I'm going to have to talk to your husband.
Yeah, I know. That's it. Well, that's why we don't have the pharmacy. That's it.
I'm going for the $200,000 one over there.
Yeah.
The bigger the better.
Yeah, exactly. Anything with a motor, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm thinking must be a lot of money. So
They are though, even small little tractors,
Yes.
it's a big chunk of
Right.
change to invest in the beginning. So we had some things at our hands, we had a small rototiller. We do have a four-wheeler. We eventually got a little rototiller to go behind the four-wheeler, but it's still a lot of work.
Yes, I'm sure. I am sure. So, and then any planting advice for anybody listening who's a little further along than I am, has more patience than I am.
Planting advice, depending where your location, really, especially if you're planting outside, go by your planting date. Listen to, your frost dates. Listen to Mother Nature. This April was beautiful here. We had a lot of nice 70-degree days.
Yes.
We had a lot of warm nights that are good for planting, but it's still way too early. So you just have to have the patience. Right now in our area, the frost-free date, they say, is May 15th. We've kind of hit that date, and the weather has turned. We're ready to go.
Yes, down here in the valley, I'm sure you haven't had a frost yet, or
It
have
got-
you?
No, it got close the other night. I think it was like 35 or something
Right,
like that.
yeah.
So I don't think it really hit us.
We're waiting.
Although
Memorial
some
Day
of
is
my, I
ours.
noticed some of my lilacs, some of the blooms had kind of like they got hit, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
other ones came out. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, even here, everybody has their own little microclimates. With you guys closer to
Yes.
the river, you're much warmer than everybody up on the outskirts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that's very important, right? So you need to wait and to
Yes.
plant. And then as far as how do you keep these are blooms that, can we see it? I don't know if anybody can
If you
see
pick it up, the people
We can
watching
see
on
it.
the video can see
So
it.
these
yeah.
are from last week, and these are the double tulips, right?
Yes.
So now, if you look at these, Dave, do you see any bugs anywhere?
Bugs.
Right.
No, you're bringing bugs into the
right.
studio.
So you think about it, anything that's outside, they usually have natural bugs that, the pollinators and then anything else that would go on it. How do you keep them bug free?
well, I really don't want to say this. I'll probably jinx
Okay.
myself.
Knock on wood. We gotta find
Uh-oh.
someone. Yes, knock on wood.
I don't know if it is our location. We are kind of in one of the higher spots in Montgomery County. If you go to the top of our hill, you can almost see a 360 view. So we're up there. So I don't know if it's the wind we always get, what it is, but as of now, we don't have a lot of bug pressure.
That's really cool.
Even last year, there's another cut flower grower. She's down in the valley in the little town of Ames. And so this is about 3 miles from my house. The Japanese beetles were terrible for her. And I said, I saw a few. You can keep them.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true.
But so I think for us, a big factor in so many things is our elevation.
That's interesting because you think about that too, like your tomato plants, like anything in vegetable gardens or anybody else planting things, there's always that susceptibility to it. And that's what I look at with your flowers. I can't believe half the time when they come in that there's nothing on them. And that's a risk when you bring them in.
Oh, sure.
And especially because I don't know do you spray then for your flowers or
We do not.
and amazing. So
Yes.
there's a lot
I
of
mean-
things too that it could come up in between by not
Right.
spraying. And I always wondered at that. Ladybugs, you hear sometimes that people will put ladybugs out
Yep.
for the aphids or whatever.
Yeah, usually outside you have a lot of natural predators. I mean, we do get some bugs. One year I did have a type of beetle that decimated one part of my zinnias, but they didn't touch another part. So unfortunately that was a loss.
Right.
But it hasn't happened since. And then late in the season, you always have a powdery mildew issue, which is so common around here in the fall. So you just have to kind of cross your fingers, see what happens. We might get aphids once in a while, but it's never mass quantities where we have to do huge things. We can really focus on that area.
That's really cool. It's a risk too that I don't know that I'd have the patience to deal with. If I
Right.
saw a part of my crop was starting to fail, I'd probably give up, honestly, and say that's it.
Need a bigger tractor.
Right. That's it. Next year, I'll get it next year. So
$400,000
Right.
tractor.
Yeah, that's it. That would help with the bugs.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
We'll run there.
Right.
Oh, we'll just go right over them.
Right. That's it. That's it. We'll put them right in there.
But
So-
that's something you just made me think of. I think with farming, you have to expect failure. And maybe that's why it doesn't bother me so much because I've seen it so many times. You can't win it all.
Mhm.
So you're always expecting something to fail. And when it doesn't, it's a huge success.
Which is awesome. And we all get excited for your
Yes.
successes too, because then that translates down to flowers for me to flowers for you. So, so I'm going to ask you, as we wrap up here, what is the location of your business? As you said, in Canajoharie, kind of outside the outskirts of Canajoharie. And then do you have any events? I know you mainly do wholesale, but I'm sure there's different farmers markets, or do you do anything like that, or a
Yep.
flower day at your farm? Go ahead.
No, we used to do some classes. You know, we might get back into it this year, kind of see how things are going and
Mhm.
rolling. But we are located, if you went from Canajoharie to Sharon Springs, there's Route 10,
Okay.
and there's a little town of Ames, and we're just outside that a little bit. So that's our location, off the beaten path. If people want to come, I gladly accept them. It's just by appointment only, because I may be out on a delivery or I may be running errands. You
Yes.
know, I'm not always present. But I do as many events as I can. I do the farmers market in Clinton. That starts, I think it's June 3rd. It's the first Thursday in June and goes right before Columbus Day weekend, that Thursday.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I'll be there every Thursday so people can come out.
Mhm.
And then my friends Parsons Vegetable Farm in Sharon Springs, they're doing an outstanding in your field event.
Hard to say. Yes.
Yes, I know. I'm like, I got to get this right for them, because, and it's kind of fun. They've really taken the twist on it that, you know, they kind of are promoting all the vendors there, and everybody's outstanding in their own field of work. So
That's
it's
cool.
kind of a fun way they've put it together. So that will be the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, which is
Okay.
the 29th, 10 to
Okay.
4, Sharon Springs on Route 20. And, you know, the Canajoharie is doing a street fair. I've heard Harvest Festival is coming back to Sharon Springs. So I try to keep my events locally
Mhm.
and do those types of things because they're fun.
Right.
Get to, you know, it's another way to get the local people to say, hey guys, I'm here. Remember me?
That's good. That's
Yes.
very, very good. And then this is the media part. I'm not very good at this sort of thing. I have to get with you anyway. I just remembered that triggered something in my mind. Anyway, okay. So I had to just think there. I was like,
Okay.
oh, right. Okay. Anyway, so what is do you have a Facebook or an Instagram or a website that people can look at too?
Yes. I do Facebook. It's Floral Root. I think Floral Root at Canajoharie. That's the way you can find me. And I am on Instagram. Same thing, Floral Root. So
Okay, perfect.
yeah, I'm working on a website, but unfortunately, since we're focused more on wholesale, our website will probably be more for our wholesalers than
Okay.
anything.
Okay, well, that's great to know. So, I can't thank you enough for coming on
Yes,
today.
thank you for having me.
Anything else you want to cover while you're on here with growing? And I think we touched on everything, where you're located. I might
Yeah.
think of anything else, the big stuff,
and- yeah, growing, don't be afraid to try it. If it fails, it fails. Try it again, you know,
Okay.
but it's always a learning experience.
Yes, that's great. And trial and error. That's the thing, because you only
Yes.
have one season to try it this
Yes.
year. And you got to wait a whole year. I
There's
can't
that
imagine.
patience again.
Yes. Oh, patience. Yes, that's something I can improve on for sure. So, well, thank you so much for being on again today, Lisa.
Yes, thank
We
you.
really appreciate it. So, and we will be back in just a few minutes with our last segment.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of Little Falls, New York. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, and our events calendar. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling stories about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of local residents and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes store or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
Okay. All right. So now we're on the and more part of the portion today. And I'm really excited about this because one of my favorite people in the world is here, Darren Darling. And Darren Darling is the part owner, almost owner of Green Acres in
Right.
Dollarville. So you can give us a little more tips on that. And I have to shout out, I love the shout out word again. I have to shout out to his brother Jake, who told me he would be more than happy anytime to come on and speak. And I said, okay, well, I'll leave that up to Darren. Darren's got it today. So so anyway, so Darren is Green Acres, located in Dollarville. This is my shout out to Dollarville businesses. Been there for how many years, Darren?
This is our 66th season.
Oh my
So
goodness.
Wow.
66 years.
That's
and,
crazy.
it is
Yes.
crazy. It's almost unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really.
And if you know Dollarville people and you have been up that way, Green Acres is a staple for ice cream in the summer.
It's not a Dollarville thing. I will tell you,
It's-
there are people from Little Falls. I know for us,
Mm-hmm.
that's like a rite of spring.
Yes.
Like they put it up on Facebook that they're going to open and we go, we're going for twist cones or
Yes.
or we're going for a burger or
Yes,
something.
yep.
It's like that rite of passage. Okay. We're coming in the spring.
Mhm.
Green Acres is open.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's perfect because now this is May. So that means it's spring officially because you guys are open. So
Yes, for sure. For sure.
So Darren, tell us a little bit more about Green Acres and what you guys do in 66 years, how
Sure.
it's kind of built. So.
Yeah. So 66 years total. My grandmother, who owns it now, took it over about 33 years ago from her father. We do we're like a derivative of the classic diner drive-in style American cuisine. So we do burgers and we do fried dinners and we do sides and sandwiches. And then we have a full-time ice cream parlor too. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which we just had the fish fry on Friday night. It was delicious. And I've had the chicken sandwich. I pretty much have had everything on the menu, but the chicken sandwich that just started now that was sriracha.
Sriracha aioli,
yes,
yeah.
very,
Yep.
very, very good. It's not very spicy. I see you looking at me
I
over
like
there.
spicy.
Yeah,
I
it's,
don't know.
it's like a kind of medium spicy. It sounds really more spicy than it is. but
Yeah,
it's
for
very
sure.
good.
We're trying to branch out a little bit into more, quote unquote culinary things and
That's
do
great.
some more exploratory things. So
That's
that's
awesome.
definitely one of them.
Is this your kind of influence on the business?
Kind of.
Because you're a different generation coming in. Typically, a lot of older adults don't have that opportunity to pass their businesses on to kids because they go,
Mhm.
I don't want to do this. I want to go out and do whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
is that what
That's
that is?
definitely the case. And last year we started doing specialty burgers, and again, that's more of an exploratory side of what we're doing. And this is my personal 10th year at Green Acres, and I started there just as if you're in our family, you kind of work there. Like you don't really have a choice. So that's how I started. But then over time and through college, I knew I wanted to be in business, and I just fell in love with food service in the culinary world. So I was like, what better opportunity than the one right here in my hometown with my family? So
great.
for the last 3 years or so, we've really been working to make that transition and get me kind of into the management role and prepare for the future.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
nice.
So let me ask you that. How did you decide that you wanted to be in culinary? Because culinary is not easy, right?
No, not at all. And it's not something that I expected. When I was in high school and in college, I think I expected to be in finance or some of the more traditional business sectors. And then I got close to graduation and I was like, I just love Dollarville and I love Green Acres and I love that this is our family. And if it's not me, who's going to do it?
That's really cool.
And I was like, I could love this. And so I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. And, I call her Ruth, even though she's married to my grandfather. She's not,
Mhm.
technically my family, but she's my grandmother in every sense of the word. And, she kind of was like, okay, but you got to know what you're getting into. So we just dove right in, and it's 100-hour work weeks, and it's
Yeah.
every day from the start of March to the end of September.
Mhm.
We don't take holidays off because those are our big days. We don't take weekends off. Those are our big days, of course. It's just how the restaurant industry goes.
Mhm.
But yeah, ever since we made that decision, it's really been, I don't want to say smooth sailing, but I think it's gone as well as it could have gone.
Mhm. It's
Yeah, but
awesome.
They get the whole winter off, and he's complaining about
Yeah.
100-hour work weeks. I mean, seriously. Oh, but you're off October through frickin'
Yeah.
April. I
No,
mean,
you're
come
right.
on.
You're right.
Yeah, all
You're
right.
right.
Oh, let me get the violin out.
Yes.
No, believe me, I love it. I love it. I love the 100-hour work weeks. I love the hot, sweaty kitchens. Don't get me
Oh my
wrong.
goodness.
But yeah.
Well, that's a couple fun facts there. So I asked somebody the other day and I said, so when does Darren actually take a day off? And they're like, no, he's there 7 days a week. And I think it might've been your mom or somebody I
Yeah.
asked. And I said, oh my goodness. So anyway, then 100 degree
Well,
kitchen-ish sometimes.
our rule is kind of whatever the temperature is outside, it's at least 15 degrees warmer in the kitchen. So those
Because-
100 degrees, like July days, it
Right.
gets to 115 in there for sure.
And because they don't have air conditioning, so it is really just rising and grinding over there. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, last year you had a fun little thing called a mask that you had to put on there when you're in
Yeah.
there too, which I can't believe how many hours you spent there in the heat just for us to have a burger. So
Totally.
it's it's an awesome service that you do to the town, and obviously to everybody outside of town too, because Little Falls hears about it. And do you have radio ads? I think that
We
kind
do,
of
yeah.
far reaching. So
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the people that will come in on a Sunday afternoon and be like, "Yeah, we drove from Saratoga, or we drove from Albany, or
so
or
cool.
whatever." And
They really
it blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a landmark, definitely in
Yeah.
Dollarville for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that you're on today and stuff. And then, like he was saying, you're kind of the second or third generation, I guess,
Yeah.
basically to take
Yep.
it over, which is something to say too, because a lot of families after a certain point, they say, that's kind of starting to fade out. It's a lot of work. It's, really tough to navigate. You've been lucky enough to have somebody to kind of coach you through it. And then, you can build on it. So we'll talk about building in terms of food, because I love food.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
so in general, you guys probably kind of started out as like the ice cream parlor with the maybe hamburgers, French fries, basic kind of drive-in style. What are some of the things now that you've been adding to the menu as you kind of taken over?
Yeah, so if we go all the way back, they just started as a shack basically with doing hot dogs and hamburgers and whatever. And then over time, that kind of just built and built and built.
Mhm.
And then they started doing more. And they bought their first ice cream machine, for soft serve. And that kind of started this next transition where my grandmother took over, I want to say in 88. And
Okay.
from then, she's kind of turned it into this full restaurant instead of a shack. But it's funny because if you walk through the back of the building, you can see the different sections where like it started as the shack, then they built on the ice cream section, then they built on the back storage, then they built on the dining room. You can see like the different buildings like as they
That's
were
awesome.
added over time.
That is really
But yeah,
cool.
it's gone from basically a 2-person shack into now a full service restaurant with a dining room and a full-time ice cream section.
Amazing. It's amazing. And you added on this year too, right? So there's a
did.
little section, kind of more ice cream area.
Yeah,
right?
we
So-
we pushed out that side of the building 4 feet, which doesn't sound like much, but I can't tell you the difference it's made. We pushed out the walk-in cooler along with it, and that extra space has given us a world of difference. I cannot even explain it. Our ice cream section used to be you're bumping into each other, you're reaching over each other to grab cones, you're doing all this stuff, and right now it's like it's bigger than our kitchen is almost now.
Yeah.
just from a 4-foot bump out. It's incredible.
That's awesome. That is really cool. So now you're in service dining, right?
Yes.
Back to some in-service dining. And then what's one of the big things, the most popular thing you think you sell? Is it still ice cream or the burgers, or what do you think is the big draw?
Right. Ice cream is obviously super popular
Mhm.
with everyone of all age groups and whatever. And especially on a weekend like we just had where it's 75 degrees every
Yeah,
day.
it's beautiful.
Ice cream goes like crazy. But our classics like the Mexican hot, I think that is probably the number one seller. A lot of the older crowd and the people who have been around for a while are just they die for the Mexicans, and they come at the end of the season and buy pints of the sauce that we make and whatever.
Wow.
So I'd say that's our number one. Yeah.
That's really cool.
That is, I think that's one of the things I've never had there for some reason. I don't know
Wow.
why I've never done that. But everything else,
Yeah.
Big Acre Burger and everything. I
Yeah.
mean, I typically hone in on my favorites.
Yes.
That's it.
I hate to admit it, but I had my first Mexican last year. Nine
Really?
years after
Oh,
working
no,
there. Yeah. So, but I see why people like it. It's just so simple. It's delicious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So how many employees do you guys have up there then?
We try to stay around 15.
Okay.
It varies because we have a lot of high school kids and college kids that either are servers or work ice cream or whatever, and they leave for college in late summer, or they can't really work a lot of hours in the early spring because they're going to school.
Right.
So it varies between maybe 12 to 16, but usually we stay around that 15 number, and we have a few real dedicated core of adults that do the cooking and run the service
Mhm.
windows, and they work some more hours for us, but we try to stay around 15.
Okay, that's awesome, because that's we had Sharon on last week or last month, I guess, from Arthur's, and they have about 8, I think she said, as far as employees, and they're part time. They're not there 7 days a week and all
Right.
of that, but it's great. Any small business that can put anything into the economy and having people working for them is wonderful. And considering too with everything that happened last year, it's amazing that you still have that many people that still are working, and there's a supply and demand for all that food. So I'm very happy about that.
sure.
So now, do you have any upcoming events? I don't know if you guys Violet Festival. I don't know what they're doing this year with it. Supposedly
It's going to be like a mini
Yeah.
Violet festival. They're not
So-
going to do the parade and
okay.
yeah,
So you guys generally did like a special purple ice cream for that and
Yeah.
some specialty things. Are you still doing that this
Yeah,
year?
for
or-
sure. We
Okay.
we call it Lindy Twist after Lyndon Lyon,
Okay.
who made the violet. And It's double pink strawberry and black raspberry, so it's pink and purple, just like the flowers. Then we do the very berry sundae along with it too, which is just a sundae with like a mixed berry, syrup on top. So yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah.
And then do you guys do any events over the summer, or did you used to do drive-ins at one point?
Yeah.
Have you done those in a
yeah,
while?
we've
or-
done car shows. We
Okay.
do like some concerts sometimes, like little mini things where DJs will come, or we'll have a small band out on our lawn or whatever. We haven't done any this year, and obviously didn't do any last year
Right.
because these 2 years have just been so crazy and unpredictable.
Yeah.
But hopefully maybe next year we can get back into doing some of the stuff like that.
That's really awesome. Yeah, you probably didn't know that they did that, did you?
I
up
did
there?
not. I had no idea.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I think 3 years ago, maybe 4, was our last car show that we did, where people will
Mhm.
drive their cars up onto our top lawn. And then we do like a contest, and they do, judging and whatever else. And there's a bunch of old cars that come and people hang out and have a good time.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really cool. So it's like a community event as well
Yeah.
as a restaurant. So that's great. So
Right.
can you tell us, I know someone's on Facebook and Instagram and all of that now. So what are the handles for it, and how can people find you if they don't stop up to the restaurants?
Right. I think all of the social media handles are just Green Acres Drive-In
Okay.
in Dodgeville, New York. And then the website is egreenacres.com.
Okay, perfect. And then you're located where?
On 106 North Helmer Ave, it's on State Route 29 in Dodgeville, New York.
Awesome. So I guess you're going to be heading up for an ice cream cone after this, right?
I tell you what, you've teased me. But I'm thinking about the Mexican. I'm like,
Right,
okay,
right.
wait a minute.
Almost lunchtime too when we're recording this. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
might
Yep,
just
give it a
about be
shot
there.
one
Yes.
time.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for being on, Darren. Again, like I said, one of my favorite people in town. Ruth has been tremendous in helping with the flower shop, even, and giving me advice over the course of time. Tremendous business person. So you're learning from a great person for sure.
Agreed.
And I am so excited that you are one of the staples in town. And going forward in my business, I'm glad that you're going to be running it for
Yes.
years to come. So
Thank you for having me, Tiffany.
Yes, thank you so much, Darren, for coming in. So let's see. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation on Tiffany Talk. Remember to connect with us, and we'll talk to you next time. You can find us the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. on My Little Falls Radio and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.